Well, greetings and welcome. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. We've been on the air a little over 7 years, and you have always come through with your calls, your takes, your wisdom, your lived experiences. And yesterday was a great discussion about have you rescued a pet at some point, maybe more than one, and why, and the circumstances surrounding that. And we had some great stories, so much so that we're going to continue that topic probably just for today, a part two. And we want you to join us, especially if you were on the line yesterday but didn't get on the air. So I'll give you the number and then hand it off to Debbie Georgiani. I'm Jerry Usher. Number for you to call, 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
Please call us. There were several folks on the line yesterday when the time ran out for the show, like Peggy and Mary and Jerry and Shirley and the others, all from Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas. Come on, you guys, call back. And all you have to do is dial this number, 1-833-288-3986. And you say to Matt Kabinski, Matt, I was on the line yesterday and the clock ran out. And Matt will go, no problem. I'll push you to the front of the line. That's the least we can do since you waited like 24 hours. Okay. We need to do that. That's, we're trying to be very, we're trying to respect your time and your dedication to Take Two and the Take Two family. But if you have rescued a pet, tell us why. How that pet has blessed your family in many ways. We heard some incredible stories yesterday. And like Jerry said, this is part two. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about, do you have real joy? And that came from some of our listeners. So we're going to be tackling that incredible topic tomorrow. But today, let's finish strong with, have you rescued a pet and why? 833-288-3986.
Yeah, we got stories about, of course, dogs and cats and snakes and some gerbils and all kinds of other animals, rabbits. Mm-hmm. And Debbie and I both have experience with rescuing pets, dogs in our cases. But what about you, Take Two family? Have you ever rescued a pet, whether it was one that just showed up on your doorstep like my dog Duke did, whether you went to a shelter and kind of looked at all of them and that there was that one special animal that couldn't take its eyes off of you and you couldn't take your eyes off of it, and you said, this has got to be the one, so you took them home. We can talk about if these rescue animals that we have, if they have been abused in some way. How have you tried to show them just great love and compassion and empathy, and the love of God really is what we're showing to these animals. So a lot of things we can talk about today at 833-288-3986.
3 open phone lines here on Take Two. Please fill those up quickly at 833-288-3986. And we say this every single time we do the show every weekday, and that is, if you're listening to Take Two right now, wherever you are in the world, you're part of the Take Two family. So please call in. This is your show. This is a safe, wonderful platform for you to share your stories. Why? Because we care about your stories and we can learn and grow from your stories. Your lived experiences tell it all for the rest of us. We are the mystical body of Christ. Please call us. And yes, Jerry, I would love to go to Vicki.
Yeah, well, we've got almost full phone lines already. Matt Kabinski is fast on the screening, and Vicki was early in calling today. So we're going to go to Vicki in Irving, Texas, listening to Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Vicki.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. We live close to Dallas, so in the summers it gets very hot, and very often we come across dogs that are loose, they're hungry, they're thirsty, so we take them in, bathe them, take care of them, and find a home for them. Sometimes when we didn't have so many pets, we could keep them, but then we just had to find homes for them to go to. And if we could not find somebody, then the last resort was taking them into the city shelter to be adopted. And so my kids pick up birds or any animal that's hurt and try to restore them to health and then put them out there again. We have stopped to pick up turtles that are crossing the road so that they don't get run over and put them in the water again.
Wow. Wow, your kids, your family, you all have just a great empathy in your hearts, Vicki, for animals. And, it is a fact of life, that we do see a lot of stray animals, usually dogs and cats and so forth. Some have I probably been neglected by their owners or maybe sent out by their owners, but a lot of dogs and cats and other animals just simply get lost. And just out where I live, a couple weeks ago, there was a family going up and down the street frantically trying to find their dog. So it could be any number of circumstances why these animals are out there, but God bless you for all that you do for them.
And Vicki, I love your adventurous spirit, because you have that courageous spirit to be able to go into a new situation, survey it, and then if you can help, you're helping with those precious creatures. And I think that's wonderful. I think it shows a great respect for God and all of what God has done for us. You respect that, and that's amazing. I think it takes a special person to do what you do.
Well, my husband is an animal lover, and my kids are, and I am too. So,
That's
we
beautiful.
just have a pro-life view. It doesn't stop with humans.
Right. You have a pro-life view. It doesn't stop with humans. That's correct, and that's a beautiful thing, and it shows how you've honored God and all of His creations. I think it's wonderful. Vicki, you're awesome. Thank you so much for leading off part 2 today on Take 2.
Thank you for taking my call. God bless.
You're very welcome. God bless you too. 833-288-3986, part 2 of yesterday's topic. Have you rescued a pet or more than one pet? How is that going? How did it go? Maybe you have a lifetime of doing that like some people do. 833-288-3986.
We do have, there it goes. There goes that open phone line. Way to go. We love the Take Two family. You guys are filling up the lines. That's great. Just another shout out to Peggy and Mary and Jerry and Shirley from yesterday. Please call back. And we also have a ton of social media coming in. Also emails. You can always email us at take2@EWTN.com.
Colette is watching what she was watching yesterday on YouTube. Hello to all of you watching the YouTube or Facebook feeds. She says, my 2 cats came into my life because they were strays in the strays in the bringing. I would leave food and drink outside of them, and they came back for more. So I went around my neighbors to see if they belonged to anyone, and they didn't. So I took them to the veterinarian for a health check, and they have been with me ever since. Beautiful, Colette. Thanks for weighing in today on Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie and you. We're going to get more of your calls, a whole bunch of them coming up.
This is a Messy Family Minute with Mike and Alicia Hernan. We talk a lot about the importance of family culture, but what is it? Family culture is an unwritten set of expectations, beliefs, and values. It's a way of life that confers identity, belonging, and mission on its members. You have a family culture in your home already, whether you realize it or not. And as parents and even grandparents, we have to ask, what are the unspoken messages we are communicating to our children?
When a family culture is dysfunctional, children learn lessons they take into adulthood which are hard to unlearn. But in strong, healthy families, the culture exponentially magnifies parenting and keeps kids doing the right thing. As they say in the business world, culture beats strategy every time. A family's culture is a powerful force that sends messages more clearly than words alone. It is essential that you and your spouse are intentional and thoughtful about the culture you are stewarding within your home.
For more free resources on building your family culture, visit us at messyfamilyminute.org.
As a kid, summer reading became the norm for some. Maybe you were that kid that moaned and complained with every book, but realized the benefit not just in the adventure of what you read, but the community with others who read it with you. That's the same experience you will have when you join the Inspired by Faith Book Club. You'll see each month's selection for the summer and be able to read it all summer long. You can simply join for free today when you click on the Book Club tab at standtalltoday.com. That's standtalltoday.com. Have you rescued a pet and why? This is part 2 of the discussion on this topic. We'll get back to the phones in just a moment. Let me just share with our listeners a wonderful book. We love the author. We love the title. We love the subject of the book. How the Angels Got Their Wings by Anthony DeStefano. He does great work. How the Angels Got Their Wings is a short introduction to the story of God's angels. Children are introduced to the famous archangels Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, as well as to Satan and the fallen angels who chose to rebel against God. It also introduces children to those special angels who are here with us right now, helping to protect and guide us, our guardian angels. Once children read this beautifully illustrated story, they'll be comforted in the knowledge that they have God, Our Lady, and the other saints in heaven to help them, as well as their marvelous spiritual creatures known as the angels. Here's how you get the book. I highly recommend it, especially we've got the holiday coming up soon. EWTNRC.com, free standard shipping on online orders, $75 or more. All you have to do is it's only for the continental U.S. only, use code FREE, I love that word, at checkout.
Okay. We are going back to your calls on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Our next stop is North Carolina. Carrie is listening on the Divine Mercy Radio app. Hi, Carrie. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Go right ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So I rescued I've always rescued dogs. But this particular dog I rescued from the Maryland shelter. When I lived in Maryland, he was 4 hours from being put down.
Ooh.
Now, I went to work with him with trainers that trained with police dogs, trainers that trained with military dogs, and they got me to the point with him where he was able to be Canine Good Citizen with the AKC, American Kennel Club Canine Good Citizen. And then I worked with him when I was healthy, and he got AKC, CGCU, Urban, CGC Advanced, Trick Dog. I had him in a contest with other dogs in Arundel County that he won the best trick overall because I had a little Playsko piano and told him what key to push, and he pushed it. And then the judges looked over and said, "Can he do that again?" And I told him another key to push, and he pushed it. But anyways, I had a major medical issue, and he had to go to his trainer for 3 days. And then when I got him back, he started alerting me to some medical issues that I was having, and I was working with a trainer on this. And it came to the fact that he was alerting me by either jumping on me, staring at me, barking at me. He became my medical alert dog.
Wow.
He was my medical alert dog for almost 10 years. And then he passed. And then I couldn't be without another dog, so I rescued another dog from a breeder hoarder that had the same sensitivities as he did. And she is now my medical alert dog. And actually, she's bigger. He was a min pin. She's a whippet. And she's amazing. She helps me so much. She goes everywhere with me. And I've also rescued 2 cats. I've never had cats before, but I rescued 2 cats. And they all get along. It's wonderful.
Great. Fantastic. Wow, Carrie, what a beautiful story. This first dog that you had, you mentioned 4 hours away from being put down, and all of this help and love that he had to give you, or perhaps potentially somebody else, would have just died with him, and so it was no accident. It was definitely providential timing that you got there and got to this dog. And of course, they don't live forever, so you had to lose that one, but get the second dog. And the second dog, it sounds like, just kind of stepped right in where the first dog was and just kind of did many of the same things for you. Beautiful, beautiful story, Deb.
Oh, I absolutely love the story. And you got so emotional, which I think is just goes to show the gratitude you have in your heart for this special animal that came into your life that helped, to save you, and to be there for you. And I just think, the emotional attachment we get to our furry friends that come and be with us, especially when they can be part of our journey, our life's journey. It's huge. So you have a beautiful heart. Thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. Do call us again anytime. Part 2 of our show, have you rescued a pet or more than one pet? Why? How has that worked out for you? How close have you gotten to them? 833-288-3986. Jennifer is next in Illinois, listening on WSFI. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hello.
Hey, welcome back.
Hi. I wanted to thank you guys for praying for me. 'Cause, I sent you that email about my surgery.
Yeah.
And it was successful. And thank you for the recommendations for the intercessory prayer with St. Lucy and all that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So what is the recovery like for you, Jennifer?
Well, it's going okay. I mean, I have to take eye drops. I have to put the eye drops in 4 times a day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it's going well.
Good.
Praise
Always
God.
love to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, love to hear.
Thank
the
you
praise
so
report.
much for following up. We always wonder how everybody's doing, and we want to be there for each other. And that's wonderful that you called back, and we're so grateful to God that everything went well.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I kind of sort of rescued a dog that followed me home once. It was it was a female dog, and she followed me home, and she was kind of, I guess, mangy or something. I don't know, but like she hadn't had a haircut or something, and she was hungry and thirsty. So my dad got her some water and some food. We couldn't let her in the house because we have a dog, and we didn't know how that would work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think they did. I can't remember who. My dad called someone, and they took the dog, and I think they did get her back to her owner.
Well, it's good. That's good because, people, like I said earlier, a lot of dogs that are strays are actually just lost, and there are families that are really grieving over that loss. So I'm glad that that dog got reunited with its owner. And Jennifer, again, we're so thankful, as Debbie said, for you updating us on that surgery. Please do continue to do so. If it's not as convenient for you to call the show or the lines are busy, you can always email us, take2@EWTN.com, like you did before, and we'll be praying. The whole world's praying for you, continues to pray for you, Jennifer. So thanks for keeping us posted.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, beautiful. Okay.
All of our listeners who are weighing in by messages or emails or on social media, they're saying they're getting emotional too, thinking about their pets and their previous pets and those wonderful four-legged friends that come into our lives. And I think it was prompted by you yesterday, Jerry, sharing how you can't even emotionally get to that place the day that Duke says goodbye here on Earth, and you can't even get to that place because you get emotional. I did with Gracie too. I cried like a baby. I'm just going to be honest. And I cried for many days, actually many weeks. So
I'm sure.
Yeah, she was the cutest little thing. Okay, where are we going next? We have a lot of social media coming in, a lot of emails. We guys, we can't do a part 3 because we're tackling real joy tomorrow, and that's very important as well.
Well, Kent is in Champaign, Illinois, listening on Holy Family Radio. And Kent, you're up next. Welcome.
Well, welcome to you, too. I'm glad to be on.
Thank you.
First, let me mention our bona fides. We are a family with 4 cats that God has placed in our care. We don't consider ourselves their owners, but caretakers of them. But that's not the real point of why I wanted to call. It seems like if you talk to a Catholic philosopher or a theologian, 4 out of 5 of them will tell you that our friends will not survive their earthly death. But I think that is both contrary to philosophy and Scripture, going all the way back to St. Thomas Aquinas, who seemed to be basing his opinions on his own limitations, as great as they were. First of all, it seems like they are implicitly claiming that God does not have enough love to save his other material creatures, and it's also contrary to scriptures. For instance, Ecclesiastes 3:14 to 15, which basically says the same thing as the glory be prayer, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. In Revelation, our Lord is saying to St. John, "Behold, I make all things new." And write this down, for it is trustworthy and true. The key words there are new, meaning without deterioration or decay, and all things does not leave out very much. And our Lord himself, speaking to the Sadducees, where they were trying to test him with the problem of the successively widowed woman from several, 6 or 7 brothers. He says, you do not understand the power of God. And 3 verses later, he says, God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Now, if you can tell me of anything that God is not the God of, then that would be the dead. So I believe that all of his creatures survive into the new heavens and the new earth.
Okay. Well, Kent, that is a position that you are definitely entitled to hold. It doesn't touch upon, the doctrines or dogmas of the church or anything like that. And true, I mean, the Bible says, with God, all things are possible. Debbie, that's Debbie's favorite verse in the whole Bible. And we hear about, a new heaven and a new earth. While on earth, there are animals right here. So I think there are people who hold both sides of this opinion. As far as, going into my own personal stance or position on this, I haven't thought it through enough. I can use a famous phrase, it's above my pay grade. But I found a good article on the folks at Catholic Answers, Catholic.com. Just if people want to type in Catholic.com, do pets go to heaven? And there's a good article there that has, I think, a really balanced approach to it that I was just kind of skimming through for this call, Debbie, on the show today.
And Ken, this is just my personal opinion. I agree with what Jerry said when he was citing scripture. I believe, with God, all things are possible. We don't know exactly how it's going to look and feel because we have such a limited capacity here on earth because we're bound by time, we're bound by our senses, all sorts of things. But I will tell you that I believe we serve a God of tremendous, abundant love and very creative and loves it all. And so I think in my humble opinion, this is just my opinion, anything is possible with God. And so I look forward to, I think we know from the private revelations of saints who have visited the afterlife that I believe that it's going to be much better and bigger than we could have ever imagined. And I think sometimes we try to position it and explain it in a theological way, which makes sense, and I understand that and is true. But I think sometimes we box in God. I think God's much bigger than that. Hope that kind of somewhat affirms and shares your belief in some of the things about our little furry friends going into heaven.
Yeah, thanks, Ken, for the call. It's good to get our minds thinking about things like that. And I remember back to when I hosted Catholic Answers Live. This has been many years ago, and we used to have kids open forum shows, and we got the question all the time. Will my dog, Spot, be in heaven? Will my cat Fluffy be in heaven? And well, the primary answer was, in heaven we will have everything we need to have perfect happiness.
That's a good answer.
And if according to God we need to have those pets to have perfect, complete happiness, they will be there. But they also would mention, and I think this is worth noting, that animals do not have the same type of souls that humans do. See, an animal's soul does not live on after the animal's death, whereas a human soul does. Thus, the importance of us, making the right choices here in this life, because our soul is going to go, either to heaven or to hell. But as far as animals go, it's possible God could create new ones in heaven.
I was just going to say he could recreate anything. He's God.
Yeah.
Right. I agree. That was a good answer, though, that they gave on Catholic Answers. I think that's good. But it's the same thing when you tell folks that there's no marriage in heaven. I mean, everybody kind of gasps and they go, oh, I'm not going to be with my loved one. I mean, some spouses are like, thank goodness. But no, just kidding. But really, we'll know our own, though. So you see, I think with God, all things are possible. I always tend to side on the position of not limiting God.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's I think that's wise because he is all powerful. More of your calls coming right up. Have you rescued a pet and why? And how has that changed your life, changed your family? How has the pet helped you? How did you maybe help a pet, recuperate from being abused or anything like that? And we got Ann next. We've got Jerry, and we have Ray, Linda, Mary, and Peggy. We're going to try to get to all of you today. Thanks for your patience today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Open Line Wednesday.
Doctor.
Register Radio.
The Sunrise Morning Show.
No one does Catholic radio like EWTN.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
I don't like looking back. I prefer to look forward and keep moving forward. There's plenty to cover. I do a lot of research and try to dig out the bits and pieces of a life or of an agenda that people don't want to talk about.
The World Over with Raymond Arroyo. Thursday night, 8 Eastern on EWTN Radio and Television.
Want to be notified when Take Two with Jerry and Debbie goes live on Facebook? Follow EWTN Radio's Facebook page and click the bell icon to be notified.
The EWTN on-demand platform features 50 new podcasts every week, as well as an ever-expanding library of audio and video content for Catholics who want to learn more about their faith simply using their mobile device, computer, or TV. Your favorite EWTN programs are available 24/7. Visit EWTN.com and click On Demand. EWTN, the Global Catholic Network.
Celebrate a nun like no other. Join us in honoring EWTN's beloved foundress, Mother Angelica, and her remarkable life, words, works, and remembrances. Visit EWTN.com/Mother Angelica today.
Matt Swaim here. Tomorrow on the Sunrise Morning Show, we'll celebrate the feast of King St. Louis IX and get you all the latest news, weather, sports, and a whole lot more. Now back to Women of Grace.
This is part 2 of Have You Rescued a Pet and Why? We have full phone lines here. We have social media coming in, messages coming in, emails. You guys are amazing. You all have a gigantic, big, huge heart for God's creatures, and that is incredible. That's why we love you. You have big hearts. So let's go back to the phones, Jerry, if we can, to Ann in Toledo, Ohio, on our friends at Annunciation Radio. Hi, Ann. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay. Yes, before I was married, my husband gave me a kitten for Christmas, and it was a little orange tabby. And I named him Anthony. He grew up to be a very big cat. He was very loving. I neutered him and took his front claws, and he lived for a very long time, and he was playful, and he was just the best cat. And then my son came along, and then our cat was already sickly, and then we had to put him down after our son was born about 6 months later. And before we on my husband's rug in the bathroom, and he'd also peed on my son's baby blanket. And then we moved to a new house, and a year or two later, we came home from Mass, and there was a orange tabby, orange tiger in the driveway. And my husband said, that cat's been hanging around for a few days. I think he was dumped off because we live in the country. And so I went up to
to approach it, and it came right up to me, and I petted it, and he was in good health and everything and nice and clean. And I took him into the house, and he made a straight shot without hesitation or looking. He went to our bedroom, jumped up on the master bed and sat on the pillows and curled up, looked at me, and then put his head down like, I'm finally home. And so we let him stay the night, and he slept with us. In the morning, my husband got up and went into the bathroom, walked in front of went to his sink, and stepped on his rug, and it went squish. And my husband thought, that's so strange. So he was suspicious, and so he went to the kids' bathroom, and there's a double sink there. My daughter's sink is first, and my son's sink is next. And my husband walked across the rug on my daughter's sink, no problem. Stepped on my son's rug, squish. So that was very odd. And this cat also he was also neutered and had his front claws out. He looked exactly like Anthony. My son, Peter, Anthony. He was so loving and cuddly and was always attached to me when I was outside gardening and everything. Well, a number of years later, I had to put him down. Then, a season or two later, another kitty shows up on the porch, another orange tabby. And I guess it was the female. And my daughter had been entertaining this kitty. And when it came back to the porch, she dragged me outside and said, Mom, look, there's another orange tabby out here. It looks like Peter. And so to pet it, the name Tabitha popped into my head. And so I petted the cat. It was very loving. It was spayed. Looked very similar to Peter. But it had all its claws. And I told my daughter, I said, I think the cat's name is Tabitha. She said, well, I don't like that name. I want to change it because obviously we're going to keep it because this cat is adopting us just like Peter did. So I said, well, before you change your name, you probably should go look up what Tabitha means. And so she says, okay, I'll do that. So she ran into the house, went to the computer. I come into the kitchen. I said, well, did you find out what Tabitha means? And she says, yeah. And I said, well, what does it mean? She said, raised from the dead by Peter.
Wow. Deb, you got any thoughts on that?
I was just thinking, how many times has this cat reappeared in a different in a different cat body? I mean, how many times? 3 times, Anne?
3 times.
3 times. Wow. The same type of breed. That is amazing. Okay, that's interesting. So, I mean, clearly, yeah, there's got to be. Have you figured out the big reason for this? I mean, I've never even heard of a story happening like that over and over again. Is there a reason?
When I was a child, my parents raised champion Siamese cats. Okay. And when I was 3, a day after I turned 3, there was a litter, and there was this very small, petite blue point, which means kind of grayish with dark ears and paws and face. And it was a little female, and I was suddenly very attached to this little kitty, and the cat was very attached to me.
Okay.
And my parents, every time they talked about selling it, apparently I had this horrendous hysterical fit. And so they decided, obviously there's something happening here. And, you know, they're also very devout Catholics, or were. I mean, they're passed on now. And so they let me keep it. The cat was always on my chest, sleeping with me. She would nudge me if I was sad. She would lick my tears. I mean, we were inseparable. And so cats have always been in my life, and they've always been such an emotional support to me.
That's it.
Wow.
See, okay, so
Yeah,
then there's the
there you
reason.
go.
So God wants to emotionally support you in that way. So knows what you need and provides it. Wow. Ann, what an incredible story.
Yeah, and you referenced the meaning of the name Tabitha, which we see in Acts chapter 9. Actually, Tabitha was indeed raised from the dead. And who raised her from the dead? Peter. And your previous dog to Tabitha was named Peter. So amazing story, Ann. Thank you so much for being part of this show. We got a lot of people who want to hear their stories as well, but we'd love to hear from you anytime. 833-288-3986. And speaking of waiting a while, Jerry in Cleveland, I believe, were you on the line yesterday, Jerry? I think you were.
Yes.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling back.
Oh, you're welcome. Just today, as the show's going on, and after this last call, thinking about St. John Bosco and how many times that dog appeared in his life, and did works. He did works to assist and help him, and I did have a Springer Spaniel that I did not rescue once, but I was getting ready to go out to a meeting, and he was laying across the front of the door, and I went to go out the door, and I said, "Okay, buddy, you got to move," and he growled at me a little bit, and not with his teeth, but he just growled, and I thought, "What in the world?" And then I thought, "Well, maybe I'm not supposed to leave. Maybe there's something not right," and so I waited a little bit so that when I did, and then when I wanted to go, no problem, I left. When I got up to the corner, there was a woman that I knew walking with a little baby that she had, and it was very, very cold. It was in the winter. And I was right there, like perfect timing. I was able to give her a ride, her and the baby. And I always thought, isn't that something? Of course, I don't know for a fact. Now, my two rescue stories, one was I never had a cat. I always liked birds. My dad never liked cats. We had a farm. But I love dogs and I love birds. And so about 20 years or so ago, I came home one morning, and there is this long-haired black cat, like a Persian cat, long black hair, though, and it was meowing, and it had gooey, runny eyes, and it was so skinny that when it tried to walk, its rear end and its legs in the rear end could not, he was swaying. He was having a very difficult time walking. He was skin and bones. And I said, "Get out of here, you mangy cat." And I proceeded to go up the stairs and go into the house. Well, I was in the house 10 or 15 minutes, and all I could do is keep thinking about that cat. And I said, "Lord, if that cat is still out there, I'll take him to the vet, because evidently you've sent him to me for help." And so I opened the door, and his nose wasn't an inch away from the door. He was sitting on the threshold, meowing at me, looking right at me and meowing. So I grabbed him, and we took him to the vet, and it was at the vet for 3 or 4 days. Then I took him back, and a few more days, and within that time, he gained back 8 pounds or something. The vet said, "Holy cow." And he said, I think he's 6 to 8 years old, and I had him for 14 years. And that he never jumped up on anything. To me, he was just a great cat. And when I had to put him down, when it was time, I cried and cried and cried, Jerry, just like, yeah. And it's like, I can't believe it. Even like right now, it's like, I just can't believe it. I've had many animals, right? None of them hit me like that. At any rate, that's the cat story. And then I told you I always had birds. As a kid, I had birds. Well, I raised them and bred them. And so now, about 5 or 6 years ago, I got this little rescue parakeet. And I don't know anything about its history. I don't know how old it was when I got it. They only lived like 10 or 12 years. And I've never been able to get it to talk, and it really, I wouldn't say that I've really been able to tame it. I can get it to sit on my finger after he bites it a few different times. He is not afraid. At any rate, he got really sick maybe 2 weeks ago, and I figured, okay, that's it. He's going to be leaving now. Generally they'll be sick a couple days and then they die. So I even got a bottle. I thought, oh, this would be a great little casket for him. I'll bury him like he's Sleeping Beauty. So the one morning I thought, well, you know what? I got this holy water from Rhoda Weiss's house that Jesus blessed. And I put a couple drops on him, and he immediately went over and started to eat. He ate a few pieces of seed, which he hadn't done for a couple days at least. And then the next day was August 6th. So that was August 15th, by the way. Next day, August 16th, my daughter came over, and I told her, I said, yeah, and he's still here. And I said, put Rhoda Weiss water on him yesterday, and he ate. And I said, and so I took the spray bottle that I walk around and spray the apartment with, and I sprayed him with it, and he and my daughter noticed. He went and he started to eat again, but this time a lot more. So I sprayed him every day, for a few days after that, and he is fully recovered. He is totally back, chirping and flying around and biting me.
Wow, Jerry, I'm going to jump in here because we got to do a couple things here and then hopefully get to a couple more calls. But these are just fascinating stories. And, the story about you telling you about the cat that was sitting on the threshold of the house, you open the door probably thinking the cat might be gone or thinking he'd be somewhere a few feet away or something. But he's right there, practically with his nose against the door. And then you mentioned just looking you eye to eye. There's just no way you can turn down an opportunity like that. And so, I really appreciate that, and definitely your heart, for putting down that dog. I really do. I think you were listening yesterday when I mentioned that about the day may come, probably will come, when I have to do that for my little guy. So yeah. I loved Jerry's story, and I will tell you that I did a similar thing with Gracie, our Maltese, many years ago. She had gotten sick, and they couldn't figure out the vet couldn't figure out some things, and I was getting very uptight about it. And I took holy water, and I massaged her every night for a week, and she completely healed. Wow, praise God.
Yeah. And actually she was scheduled for almost surgery. And I said, no, we're going to do it the Catholic way. So anyway, okay. Do you want to share? Real quick,
I just want to mention, the Sunrise Morning Show with Anna Mitchell and Matt Swain, Monday through Friday, 6 Eastern Time. That's in the morning on EWTN Radio. Anna and Matt start your day with news and interviews with a Catholic perspective. Sunrise Morning Show, weekdays 6 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on many of these same EWTN stations.
Tomorrow's show is about real joy. We're going to ask the Take Two family, tell all your friends that this show is tomorrow, because it has come in many times this year about us tackling this topic and talking about real interior joy, not just fleeting happiness. We're talking about joy, like the Bible describes. So could you tell all your friends and make sure everybody listens in tomorrow so we can have a good discussion on that. But let's go back to the phones, and Linda's been waiting so patiently in Rhode Island on the EWTN app. Hi, Linda. Welcome.
Hi. I am so glad that you did this show twice. I caught it at the end yesterday, and I was so happy that I could tell my story to you because this just, touches my heart so much. I had a rescue dog for 18 years. My little guy had lived for 18 years. And he was part of my family. He grew up with my daughter. She went to college. He stayed with me when she was at college. And, it was like when he passed, losing a child. It broke my heart. And I really felt like, I'll just not want another dog. I ended up waiting a whole year. And I finally knew that it was time for me to start looking again. And so I went on the computer, started looking again for, little guys, because my first one was a little guy. He was only 9 pounds, but in his mind he thought he was like probably 90. He was just so tough, you know. We called him, he was named Chance when we got him, so we kept his name, and I always looked at it like it was meant for him to be called Chance, because I would always say, well, it was supposed to be that I took a chance on you, and I took a chance on you by taking you, you know. And so we named him also with a middle name. We called him Chance Cornelius, because he was such a toughie. He thought he was a lion, you know. He was only 9 pounds, but he sometimes would act like I said he was 90, you know. So, of course, when he'd get in trouble, we would call him Chance Cornelius, you know. We would yell at him to come over. So, anyhow, the point of all this is that I did rescue another dog. I finally found another little guy, and it was time. I knew that it was time for me to, you know, get another guy, another little dog, and my first one was from down south. So I was like, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to look for a little guy, and I'm going to know when it's the right time, and I'm going to look for a little guy down south. Well, finally, it was just meant to be. Something told me it's time, and I saw this little new addition to our house in Florida. My daughter and I said, that's it. We're getting in the car. We're going to drive down there, and we're going to pick him up. I live in the northern part of the northeast, and this little guy was down in, like I said, Florida. Took us 3 days to get there. We got there. The woman who had rescued my now dog had said she wanted a fee for the dog. She was asking for, you know, an amount of money because she had given him his shots, and you know, she was expecting, obviously, you know, us to pay her. Well, when we got there, she looked at us and she said, you know, you guys drove all the way down here just to rescue this little guy. I don't want any of your money. She said, just love on him. Just love on him.
Yeah, beautiful. Linda, that is beautiful. And you took a chance. Like you took a chance twice, and I was just for whatever reason, mine went forward to a little over a month from now. We're doing a show asking people if you're gamblers. Do you gamble? Well, in this case, she's
we're doing that.
Yeah, okay. I just put it on recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
You should check out the show calendar once in a while.
Yeah. I didn't know you added a gambling show. That's awesome. I love it.
What prompted the idea in my head is we just had that $1.4 billion, mega millions or whatever, which actually the winner got like $400,000. The government kept like $700,000, or $1 million of that. I was appalled at that, but no, I put that on because I gambling. Casinos are all around and gambling and stuff. So I thought we would just talk about people if they do any of that.
Yeah. I'll definitely check out the calendar today that you added some. Anything else I should be surprised at?
You got to wait to find out.
Okay, no, but that's actually going to be a good discussion. I just love. Don't you just love the name Chance?
Yeah.
Linda named Chance. I love that. That is so cool. What a great stories. You guys are amazing. I love the Take Two family. But yesterday, Peggy was holding from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Peggy called back. So we bumped her up to the front of the line on Ave Maria Radio is the way Peggy's listening. Peggy, share with us your story about rescue pets.
Okay. My dog, my pug and I were walking, and we heard screaming and crying and yelling, and I thought it was a child being abused, so we went there, and it turned out it was a woman, and she was sitting in the backyard, and I had never seen her before. She was actually across the street from me in a condo situation, and I had never seen her before because her dad had owned the condo, and she lived with them. Well, she was screaming she was going to kill herself, and et cetera, and she told me to go away, but I knew the next-door neighbor, so I got the next-door neighbor, and we went around, and she wouldn't go to the hospital because she said, who's going to take care of Katie? Well, Katie was her dog. I said, I'll take the dog. So we took the dog, and we babysat for 2 years, off and on, and then our dog passed away 5 minutes before we were going to have to take him to the vet. And so we decided that we should get a dog. So we got a brand new puppy, a Shih Tzu, and then Katie's mom. We had, like I said, babysat for 2 years. I had been taking it to the vet, et cetera, et cetera. Well, then it was Katie came, and then my girlfriend, or before Katie came, my girlfriend said there was another pug that needed rescue, so we rescued that, and then Katie came permanently, and so we had 3 dogs.
Wow, that's a house full of dogs. Wow, that's amazing. Do you have a big house?
No, we had a condo, and we had to get all new floors and stuff. Oh, no. But we only allowed 2 dogs, but since Katie lived in the neighborhood, I figured that was okay if we could have. And they're all 3 of, I mean, we still have the one that we got brand new, but the other 2 lived 5 years. The pug went blind, and then a year later had diabetes, and, they got pretty close. But, 5 years, so we're very happy with that.
That's so interesting. You're talking about a pug because we actually we were praying about that because we had there's somebody in the neighborhood that has pugs and are they good they're good pets, right?
Yeah, except they shed.
They shed. Okay.
The one that the first one that we rescued, the Katie that we babysat for and then had for 5 years. And by the way, her mother never went back in the hospital. After we took Katie. So I think the pressure was too much for her. Sure. But at any rate, she was a Shih Tzu. And
I love those dogs. Yeah, they don't shed, though. They're good. I can't because of allergies. I just can't do it, Peggy. But, it's so beautiful when you say, I've always wanted, like, my sister-in-law and my cousin they have 3 and 4 dogs. And I love that. I think it just fills the house, even if you don't have, we don't have, my husband and I, we downsized, so we don't have a really big house. My husband said, let's get a Great Dane. And I'm like, really? There's not going to be any room for us in the house. So, I mean, you do have to take that into consideration. But I do think having a lot of have you ever thought about getting a second dog, as a play, a fun companion for Duke?
I have, yeah. I love. We had 2 dogs when I was growing up, and if you have multiple dogs, there's always one to snuggle up with you, even in the middle of the night. So.
Yeah, and they have each other, when they get bored. I think it's wonderful. Peggy, you're awesome. Thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for calling back. We're not going to get to Mary in South Carolina or Deacon Ray. Thank you so much for calling. We would love to hear your stories. Please stay in touch with us. Keep the conversation going. You can email us at take2@EWTN.com, but it's only fair that we go back to social media and some of the messages coming in because you have dog and cat stories and bird stories and snake stories and rabbits and gerbils stories that you want to share as well.
Jennifer watching YouTube says, hello all. Over the years, my kids and I rescued 4 cats and 1 dog. 1 cat through the Humane Society, 2 through a no-kill shelter, and 1 that was about 4 weeks old when saved from a ditch after the litter's mother died. Our dog rescued from a family who didn't want him anymore. Oh, and another cat we took in from the wild. I have 2 parakeets I got from an animal rescue across the street from where I live. The owner was diagnosed with lung cancer and couldn't keep them. How sad. But you were there for them, Jennifer. Beautiful, beautiful story.
And there's more stories coming in on social media. We love to read them all day long, so keep them coming. Thanks, you guys, so very much. What a great 2-part discussion on rescue pets. I think we did a really good job, as the Take Two family always does. Tomorrow is Do You Have Real Joy? Let's make this show go far and wide so we can really talk about deep interior joy. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. We ask St. Joseph, please pray for all of us.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
I pray that EWTN News in Depth will help the everyday life of everyday Catholics by bringing them the news that matters to them and helping them to have the information at their fingertips for whatever it is that they need to be able to engage with the world confidently with their faith.
EWTN News in Depth with Montse Alvarado. Friday night, 8 Eastern on EWTN Television and Radio.
This is EWTN Catholic Radio.
The only program in all of Catholic media that can take days off your purgatory. The Doctor is In is next on EWTN Radio.
This is Debbie Georgiani. If you missed part of today's show, catch the encore tonight at midnight Eastern. Check out the podcast anytime at EWTNradio.net and click podcasts.
Saturday is the Sabbath in the Jewish tradition, but the Catechism says Sunday is the day of worship for Christians. Well, why the change? And where is that in the Bible?
The primary reasons the early church transferred the observance of the third commandment from Saturday to Sunday are these.